I kind of am not a guy. I'm a very experiential type of person. I don't like to talk about going hiking and the trees and the leaves and the vistas. I like to do it. I like to go and do it. And so in this book, it's almost like here's the gear that you need to get on this hike, to get on the trail. Here's how you're going to get there. Once you get there, you're going to be doing it. And that's where I want the book to be, and this experience to be of writing, and not some chore.
This is Hacking It with Dan Allen and Robert Cavalier.
But we're back, and we're back. Why? Because we're launching a book. So, you know, if you see all those champagne glasses and all that fireworks and stuff, that's party hats and everything. That's why.
This is the project. When we launched this podcast, it was a motivating factor to get us writing again. And we figured, why not just low stakes writing project, write about what we talk about all the time, which is writing. And so that's what we did. We said, let's do it. Let's write a book about writing. And we've got it on 2 different sellers: Manifest Your Writing in 21 Days on Kindle for $2.99 if you want the ebook, $9.99 for the paperback. Kindle did a good job of publishing it.
Let's see the back of that. Back of the book.
Here is the back of the book with 2 people, 2 authors.
Damn, this is good.
It ended up being 104 pages.
Good for a guy.
The other thing with the Kindle version, it's matte, which I kind of like. I like the texture of the matte.
Yeah,
they did a pretty good job with the coloring. The other place that we published from is Draft to Digital. Now they did the gloss, which I'm not super huge fan of.
I kind of like it too.
They did so with Draft to Digital, it will automatically create the front and the back. On Kindle, you have to use their cover tool, their cover creation tool. Easy to use, and I was able to choose the author picture, the little birds, and the color.
I like it. I like it for what's coming up for both of us. But before I even get into that, I could see another version of this book. Hold it up one more time as I'm saying this part. In this version, I think it's a beautiful version. I think I had the privilege of working a lot on it, but a lot in the idea formation of it and the guidance of it. I was more like a producer. I wanted to be with her in the writing, but my writing somehow it couldn't fit with what we're doing, and also I was not in the headspace. But Dan carried the ball to the finish line. I appreciate that very much. We're going to come with a version 0.2 at some point, I think, because it'll be somewhat easy to do a transition into a little deeper subjects. If you're open for it, I have more ideas on that. Now, I think I know how I can transition in and be more woven in. I kind of am not a guy. I'm a very experiential type of person. I don't like to talk about going hiking and the trees and the leaves and the vistas. I like to do it. I like to go and do it. And so in this book, it's almost like here's the gear that you need to get on this hike, to get on the trail. Here's how you're going to get there. Once you get there, you're going to be doing it. And that's where I want the book to be, and this experience to be of writing, and not some chore, not some boring old thing. Writers are weird. I'm going to say one thing that was been in the back of my mind. You know, I am a writer chiefly, and that's what I consider myself. But I also consider that I'm not like a lot of writers that I've met. So this is all completely anecdotal and excluding you to a certain extent. But most writers that I've met are like you, like Dan's expression. What is that expression? Writers are spiders. That's what you say.
I was.
It's like I'm waiting for you.
I was going to say that, but I've said that about other professions as well.
Silence.
I will not.
But I also think that, and I was talking to my great friend from CSC. I'll say his name because he doesn't mind. He loves the, check him out. He's a musician, and that's what he cares about. His name is James Roller. Totally badass guy. Would totally come on this show or on the other show. Incredibly creative and supportive. But we were talking just the other day. He called me up on Thursday, and we talked for a good time. And he said, I was telling him about, I don't know, writers. I'm not like a lot of writers. I'm more like like in terms of, I'm not talking talent or inclination to write. Of course, I write, and that's my medium. But I feel more kinship with, and I always have with artists, visual artists, and musicians. Somehow we always click on. They kind of feel, I don't know, sound like a hippie, but my energy, or I feel their energy, and we click out of nowhere. But my point being is that one thing that I've noticed with those relationships, and again, completely anecdotal. I don't know the science of this all. This is all subjective, and I think that matters too. Um, they're always willing to share stuff. Like, hey, this is how I do this. Oh, look at how I do this, and they're always willing to share. They're so selfless. They're some of the most selfless people, which is why they get taken advantage so much, and they don't care because money is not a big thing with them. It is a big stereotype of that inclinate that calling, but it is because these people are the people that change the world. You think of these apocalyptic movies, or these a comet is going to hit the earth type of scenarios, and we need to make a list. The president's sitting in there. We need to make a list of all the people that are going to bring society back onto its feet, and it's going to be the scientists and the steel workers and bullshit. It's not going to be those, and it's never going to be a writer or a historian or a painter. That's so silly in these movies. They never, because they're a waste of time, a waste of space, according to the practical guidelines of this new society. But guess what? A society without art, without any spirit, soulless, is not a surviving society. It doesn't survive. And we've never been that society. From the very get-go, there's a theory that at some point the population of the earth bottlenecked because of volcanism. This is ancient. This is prehistory. And what got us with the human family must have been somewhere around in the hundreds. That's how extinct we almost were. This is some of the things that inspired another book that I'll plug in right now. Why not? Sage. And what got us out of there wasn't because we had prepped up and guns and whatever, knives and stuff. It was the human spirit. It was family bonds. It was ceremony. It was faith. It was the indelible things. It was those things behind the veil, because we've never been utilitarian humans. We've always been spiritual humans, utilitarian in parallel, in tangent, and sometimes even secondary. And this is part leading into what we've learned. And we were talking just before the show. I want to share that again. It's getting these things forward, doing this book, this beautiful book I can't believe we're not promoting this. We're going to promote it. Should have been on my X thing right away, even though I get I'm building up steam. So we'll see. I'm going to plug it in my show. I'm going to plug everything. We're going to cross-reference everything. We're going to help each other out, because that's the kind of people we are, Dan and me. But that's not the kind of people a lot of writers are, I see. And I'm going to get all dogged by people. And hey, if you disagree with me, great. I love it. Just show me, prove me wrong. But I have met many writers, including I finished a semester at CSU not too long ago. Met a lot of would-be writers. They're all like that. I was telling my friend James, I was circling back to, and he was like, yeah, man, they're kind of angry sometimes, writers. And they're like, and he's a writer too. He published a novel. He's a published author, but he's like, I don't want to write any more novels. I'm a musician. He won't even let me see his novel, but I know it's published, and I know because it's part of the CSU thing that talks about, it says the title of his novel, and he just like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. So what I think is that we need to change the culture. So I'm not talking about throwing rocks at writers that I don't even know, because that's silly. I'm talking about if you are this kind of person, and if you're a writer specifically, we're talking about writers now, because that's what we know, and you're feeling a little envious of people, you're feeling uncollaborative with people, you're feeling reticent, maybe that's your nature, you're feeling introverted. We're introverted. Dan's an introvert. I'm an introvert. We're introverts, I think. But we're also extroverts. We also get things done, and we shake hands, and we do the legwork, and we don't sabotage other people's work. We share, and sharing is the key to building a true community of creative people. This is the future, people, because you're going to be upstaged by the AI in no time here. Okay, so that's going to happen. That's happening, and has happened. We covered that in the show earlier on. It's a done deal. What's going to make a difference is doubling down on the human factor, which is you and me and everybody else. Joining hands, building community, working together, artists, musicians, writers, whoever, thinkers, philosophers, all of us, doubling down on that factor. That's the culture change that I'm advocating for, that I'm preaching about, the gospel of sharing. Because if I was just on a call, Dan, and I know I've monopolized a lot of minutes, I don't want to do that, but I'm gonna blow your mind with a call I made for. I was doing my first episodes, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get into some of the streaming services that I know offer really good content that is not dominated by conspiracy, bull crap. That's not got a second agenda. That's goes through a certain regimen of logical thinking. There might be some dumb things, esoteric things in there too in this catalog. But I know for one that UFO TV started in 1990s. It's around when Dan and I were basically toddlers. In 1993. I think I was learning how to walk. Oh, damn you! Yes.
Learning how to think.
Well, that's all right. It's out, guys. It's out. All right. It's all right. It's all right. We look good, though. We look good. But the thing is that it's been around. It's been around because back in the day there was a bigger. And I contacted a guy there because I went under my show name because I'm doing everything under the show name, which is Phenomena Podcast, Phenomena Case Files Podcast, and then my email was in there and all that. So check it out too, phenomenacasefiles.com.
Yeah. It'll be in the description. Yeah. So what you're saying is basically that writers need to be far more communal, not to be so spider-like and distrusting and jealous and fearful of what the other one's doing. Because I mean, if you were to come up with an enemy, the enemy, like you said, would be AI. And just for the record, I think you're right in saying that AI is here and it's going to present a unique challenge to the industry of writing. But right now, I was telling you in a earlier conversation about a book I was reading from Kindle Unlimited, and it was. I'm not going to throw the writer or the book under the bus. No. That's not fair. But it was an interesting concept, an interesting plot, and kind of like a spy thriller, conspiracy thriller. That's what it was. A conspiracy thriller.
Phenomenon.
No, it was definitely it fit the genre, but it had. Yeah. So anyways, there were passages over and over again where I know the writer fed stuff into ChatGPT and spit out dialogue. It kept talking about, because I've experimented with AI, and what it will do, it will start to talk about how one character is trying to puzzle and move the chess pieces of the drama that's going on, and how he's just one step ahead of the next person, and blah, blah, blah. It's super, I don't know, ChatGPT, what I've discovered, has a voice. And if you're a writer, if you're serious about writing, don't do it. Now, I know there's hacks out there who are going to use every cheat in the book, every hack in the book. Our hack and hacking it is hack the life of a real writer. Because this will degrade your writing. If using ChatGPT, using any kind of AI, don't do it. And I agree with you. And the book here, so we had several purposes of writing this book, but we are generous with our knowledge of writing. We really sincerely want writers to turn their dreams into reality. And ultimately, like you're talking about, being a writer is not about anything that you publish, produce, sell, market. It's who you are as a person, and it's your habits. It's a way of life. And this book really helps develop the practical steps required to make that life a reality. That was our goal. It works because I used it. I used it to write this book. I used it to write I've written 2 other books this year. One is they're both in the editing process. One is going to be, I'm going to query, try to find an agent for, try to find a publishing house for. The other one, I'm going to use Kindle Unlimited. That's one thing I haven't tried, just so that those of you who are looking at self-publishing, if you publish with Kindle Unlimited, you're stuck with Kindle Unlimited or Kindle Select. I did not do that with this book, because if you are a Kindle Unlimited member, you can't read this for free. Okay. But However, there is a book launch deal that I will let you know about that you can get hold of. I used Draft2Digital as well. By using Draft2Digital, excludes you from using Kindle Unlimited. So you can buy the book either on Amazon or on, well, the thing with Draft2Digital is that it's basically going wide. So if you use Draft2Digital, you're going wide. So if you Google this book, you're going to find many sellers out there on the internet that sell it. And that's the difference between Amazon and
Dan, you
going
seen
wide.
you wave those books, the physical manifestations of our brainstorms, of our messages, of our interactions, and having them right in your hand. I feel very jealous. I'm gonna order some pretty shortly. They should be in the mail, and pass them around. And just because I like to do legwork, I like to shake hands, I like to talk to people. And here's a book, boom. But it gives me this fire in the belly because it just like want to see my novels and hold them. You know, every writer wants that, and every writer goes into a bookstore at some point. Like in the old days, independent ones nowadays, maybe Barnes and Noble, goes in there, looks at a book. This is kind of leading back to what we're talking about: the spirit, changing the spirit of the writer, of the artist, into something that's not envious, that's not jealous, that doesn't go into a story. You'll see the story again and again. And like, and I've done it too. I can do better than this clown. I can do better than this guy. I can write, I can be a writer because I can do better than this stuff. But what we forget, that may be true, is that person went through a marathon of things, heartbreaking things, editing things, business things, query things, publishing things, editor things. We've been learning this, and it's only been a bit. That person, I commend them for that, but I don't commend the system that made him so heartbroken. Because one of the things that stuck with me in one of the earlier episodes that we covered was this lady who didn't want to come on our show because we didn't have enough. We were two small potatoes, but that's all right. Well, we'll see you. We'll see you out there. You're gonna be knocking on our door, lady. You're knocking on our door, lady. But talking about not being jealous and everything. I'm real vindictive.
Yeah, you kind
I'm joking, but and it's totally understandable. But I did like one of the things that she wrote that stayed with me was that she said that whenever I see, and she was talking about self-published writers versus traditionally published writers, and she said one of the things I see is a marked difference between these two, and just personality-wise and spirit-wise. The self-published ones have an energy about them. They have a happiness. They're just smiling, beaming with light. The ones that are traditionally published are not as much, and many of them are really depressed. It's really strange for someone who's an artist who has these compulsions to share with the world, to be put through a mechanism, whether right or wrong. I'm not totally criticizing the traditional. I myself still have a goal, like you do, of reaching that market, because it's a huge market. But the way of getting there is a little tough. I think self-publishing, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. I've shared them with you through the show and in our private talks. But I feel more and more that I want to dedicate a lot to that, because I feel like I am a self-made man in a lot of ways anyway. So are you. You didn't come from money that I know of, that you inherited some oil money. Just made yourself who you are and have all the stuff that he has, just because you worked so hard at it. And it's the same thing with what we're doing. We're making it ourselves. I have I told you that I want, for my project as far as self-writing, I'd want to own the rights and want to conduct this suspense thriller, supernatural series, which I call Phenomena. And it's about a paranormal investigator and how he delves into these mysteries and sort of gets lost into these rabbit holes and the transformative things that happen with him. And it's a bit more nuanced than that. And it is, not a literary work, but it is a work of genre. But it allows me to delve into some of these things that I've been exposed to. I never expected to be this far off the reservation, to be straight up with you. But as you become an artist or writer and you delve into things, they change you in some ways. It's just what happens. And so that's what happened to me probably around 2014-ish. I started this route, looking at things detached, looking, but I feel like all of these things have been part of our lives. And Dan and I have shared a lot of strange things that have happened in our lives, whether, we won't share them here, but we can over on our private chat for $1.99 per minute. I'm just kidding. But it's more about more about owning and conducting and driving this thing on myself. And who's going to be committed to doing the marketing every year? We are, right?
Yep.
Who's going to be
Yep.
breathing new life? If this edition of Manifest, your writing is not going to be, or your story is not going to be up to date enough, we'll update it. It'll change as we change. So even though it was an experiment, I don't want to be half-hearted. I know, and I'm going to be straight up with this too, that at that time in my life, which was around the summer to December, and I shared it in the show, I don't care. I tried some things. That's fine. I gambled a little bit with trying to change my life so that I could have a better prospects career-wise and whatnot. But I kind of fell into someone else's design, and I didn't like that. And I am I know too much about the world to know how things are going to pan out, and that wasn't going to pan out for me. To be saddled with debt and to be starting out at some career that I would have no voice and would have no money. So it's like 3 strikes, Whereas somehow by the grace of God, I went in a different direction and I listened to what I needed to do, and I dealt with the hard things. Why I'm sharing that is because that's what you have to do as a writer too, as an artist. You've got to you're gonna fall on your ass, and you're gonna be like, oh man, this destroyed me. Dan knows what I'm talking about. If he feels like sharing it, jump in. This destroyed me. I don't want to write anymore, but I don't know what else I'm going to do. And maybe I'll be a realtor now. If, my mom was right. I'll do that. Go to dental school or something. Fine, we need dentists. But the thing is that thing that's in you, that fire, it's going to be in there. If it's going to be embers, then it's going to be embers. And if you're looking back when you're in your 70s and you're like, man, I wish I would have done all these things, but I guess I never did. Don't think in the future, think in the now. What am I doing now? If you treat yourself like a business. This is what we're doing, is trying to start a business of our own and lead our lives like businesses in a certain kind of way, which means that businesses, they don't have the luxury of self-delusion. Okay. Because if they're not performing well, they need to figure out what they need to cut loose with. Okay. That's what they do. And so sometimes,
exactly.
You want to jump in?
Exactly.
Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great point that, again, this book is intended to do something about, is that if you're not pleased with your progress as a writer right now,
mm-hmm.
then do something different, change. And this book really kind of, like you said, you made a career illustration. It forces you to treat your writing as a career, as a side career that you can squeeze into another career. You can't tell me that the average American doesn't have an hour a day, at least 3 times a week to spare. I'm not convinced. And now we all go through seasons where we literally have no extra time to spare, or we're too exhausted because life gets stressful. But on average, the average American spends probably, I would say, 3 to 6 hours in idleness every day when they're not working.
You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be anything. But I'm telling you something right now. Your grandma would have told you the same thing. Turn that dang TV off, okay? Because when I was growing up, we would only have like 2 hours, if that, maybe an hour a day. That was all that was allowed. That was the old boomers. They don't care about that much TV. That's not good for you. I myself do that. I turn the TV off because TV kind of makes you feel like it fixes some kind of loneliness. I don't know what it is. It just fixes it just distracts you. But do not get
your phone.
Oh yeah,
the phone too.
That one's easy for me. I don't like being on the phone. That one's easy for me. But for other people, yeah, that's right. The phone, turn it off and read. Turn it off and take a couple, go out there and go have a walk, do something. You have a dog, don't just put him out there in the patio. Go and walk him for a good mile and a half. Not, unless you live in Alaska, where you'll basically die in a half hour, within 10 minutes. Yeah,
Funny.
but all joking aside, this book is not only inspired by these things. It's not going to be dealing with the minutia of every aspect of writing. We're not going to get but we are going to jumpstart you. And one of the things that's, I think, outstanding about this book is that it isn't meant for just these folks who want to be writers. It's meant for folks who also, hey, I want to write my grandpa's memoir. I want to be able to know how to do this. I want to put a book out there for the family, and I want to put it out on Kindle. And now we don't get technical. We don't show you how to do that. There's plenty of resources for that, but we show you what the energy is to get a writing habit going. And then you will see your dream become realized, just like that book that Dan showed up again. It has in his hands or at his desk was just a dream. It was just a message between Dan and myself about wanting to work together on something.
It will work, guaranteed, because if you, and it doesn't even mean that you have to follow every single step perfectly.
It's not prescriptive.
But the point is that you work for 21 days at your writing, and it gives you some very specific ways to start that I think are pretty fundamental. Guaranteed, if you work for 21 days following the basic structure of the book, you will produce something that you haven't produced if you are currently stuck in the mire of, I don't know what you want to call it, writer's block or a lack of confidence. Because
I don't believe in
you
know what I believe? I believe in being stuck in gear, but that's just a human thing, because there is no such thing as writer's block. Because every time that I did not write or have not written, it wasn't because I thought, oh my God, there's a writer's block. You're making a psychological thing when you talk about blocks, not you, Dan, personally, but this writer's block thing. And it becomes so surreptitious and sabotaging and self-hijacking. What I do, if you're not writing, that's fine. Your body doesn't want to write. Your soul doesn't want to write. Your mind doesn't want to write, but you're still a writer. You're still reading. You're still absorbing music. You're still taking walks. You're still living. You're still filtering your experience as a human being and being an artist. And that's the time for that. And guess what? You do that, you get back on the saddle, you're going to be writing.
Yeah, as long as you're integrating writing into it. We so often, in the book, basically what we say is, if you are a writer, you will write. That's the first step. And then the second step is to write well.
Yes.
If you're not a writer, it means that you are doing everything else to avoid writing.
Dan's process and my process are different. I need to filter experiences in life to be able to talk to you. And I mean you, the people, the reader. And when I get to that point, I want it to be my very best. Even if it's a chore, I want it to be something that's as much of me. I can't separate the two. I'm not good at that. So if you end up looking at this mirror after the 21 days or however long it goes, you can break every rule. If it goes 50 days, fine, but after that, and this process will be a mirror to what you've been doing. And you might discover, I am a writer, or you might discover, I'm an artist, but I'm not really a writer. It's a secondary thing for me. But I've learned how to write and put my thoughts together and get a habit going. But I think I'm more of a painter. I think I'm more of a musician. I don't think you're going to break our hearts. In fact, you're going to make me feel proud, because you've jump-started and discovered something about you that's essential, the essential you. And that's what I want to get jump-started. I don't really care if you write or don't write. I care that you discover that human part of you, that spiritual part of you that's sharing with the rest of the world, that feels compelled to be in communion with mankind, and maybe something for you beyond mankind. Some of the most beautiful works of art were not written for mankind. Handel wrote for God. Bach wrote for God. So if that's you and you find a different medium, this isn't your medium, I'm not saying give up, but you might have found a different thing. That would be a beautiful thing for me. And share that with us. Share that with us. Send us messages. We're going to have show notes. Dan's going to show you how to find this book. I think it's really easy to find. This has been the launch of this exciting new part. We delivered. We said we were going to deliver it, and we did it. Boom. But switching gears, and this one would be a good one. I want to, I don't know how much time we have, maybe 10, 11 minutes. I don't know. It's up to you. But I want to talk about what we've learned. So let's like the segment would be lessons that we've learned, and I'm talking about even those little lessons that we were talking before the show. So in coming up with this book and in coming together, both Dan and I, about collaborating, about supporting each other's path toward, getting some darts on the board, publishing wise, creatively, etc. We've encountered a lot of obstacles, and we've overcome those obstacles. Some of those obstacles were for me almost seemingly insurmountable. I had faith somehow that carried me through. I went to the pits of the pits that I've not had since maybe 11, 12 years. It was a very difficult time. But being a writer, it kind of, the embers flow within you and they can jumpstart a fire again. They can give you that second chance that you don't have. I had to that. I created a situational chaos by trying to gamble, and I'm not going to withdraw and become traumatized. That's what's going to happen. It'll happen again some point. We'll get to something that we'll write or we'll produce something business-wise, and it's going to fall flat. And that's fine. We're going to keep on trucking, because guess what matters is the people that keep fighting. That's who wins. That's why they get published. That's why they get people that follow them. That's why they get a readership, because they stick to it. So one of the little things I've learned, and I was telling Dan, is that, what is that saying? No one's a prophet in their own homeland. Well, no one is, because we taught, we shared it with our family, our friends. I didn't really as much, and I don't think Dan as much, except for his immediate ones. But we thought about it. Dan's got an extensive network of many, many friends, probably Facebook and other places. Who knows? I've never been a Facebook guy ever, so I don't have any friends. I have no friends. I'm friendless, but I do have a lot of real friends. And not that your friends aren't real, but what I'm saying is, we each chose for our own separate ways. I was very reticent about exploring the whole networking, because you'll see that in a lot of these little YouTube and podcast advice, things like, oh, share with your family and let your network and blah, blah, get them to be test readers. And like, I don't agree with that. I just, because there are quite a few reasons. One of them is that people that are close to you are usually not able to see that side of you. They just can't reconcile that side of you with what they know, because in their minds, their brains, they have constructed it's almost like a holographic image of you, a construct of you. And when that's somehow not what they think, and especially if it's a closer relationship, a wife or somebody, unless she's really supportive and understands that part, then it's going to be even more puzzling. And you could be shrugged. The most that's going to happen is that you're going to get shrugged off. You're going to get the cold shoulder. You're not going to get an answer. Nobody's going to give you feedback. And then it's going to kind of make you think, oh man, maybe I'm just crap. This stuff is not good. Don't do it. It's better to create new friends and followers and listeners and readers who are coming at you organically because they're drawn to what you're putting out there. Those are the things that we're doing. So we're starting out humbly, and I don't mind that. I'm assertive about that. I had a talk. I want to share this with you, Dan. This is kind of mind blowing. I went to this streaming service, and I contacted their business section because I wanted to see if I get kind of a deal being a podcast. I mean, oh my goodness, but not really, obviously. But I ended up being transferred to somebody else because they thought that I was this other corporate customer person, and the guy I ended up talking to is actually a film producer guy, and he's got his films are on this thing. He's been around.
Oh, wow.
He's got titles.
That's cool.
And I got a recording of, at some point the conversation and dialogue got so much we're laughing. He says, how do I get in this call? But he was having such a fun time talking to me and talking about what I was doing and my podcast. And I was never selling my podcast. I was just humbly trying to listen and learn. And people like this guy, Californian guy, just awesome person, will share with you their knowledge and give you insights. I have the raw footage on this. He at the beginning was like, well, do you have a following? Because a few minutes after saying, I might come on your show. It's okay. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. People that share and help out, not the writers. I'm a writer. You're not that person. is not a real artist, is a real envious little devil. And there are people like that, even if they're artists. But the people that produce movies, the people that they're always understanding one thing: it's a community. In Hollywood, it gets nasty, but nothing gets done if you don't work lockstep.
Yep.
It just doesn't get done. The best productions, the best miracles and beauties out there in whatever little show or big show is because these people work together. They work together, they're friends, they share. They don't become little islands and secretive and competing with each other, which of course in some ways they probably do. But in other ways, in more important ways, they collaborate. And the best collaborations yield work.
Just to kind of summarize what you're doing and what I'm doing, both you and I are launching some kind of multimedia project that is going to also support. I mean, it will be its own thing, but it will also support books that we are writing presently. So you just started a podcast called Phenomena that's going to be in conjunction.
Phenomena Case Files.
That's going to be Phenomena Case Files. And the link is in the description.
Is it?
And and your book is also called Phenomena that you are working on.
Also called Phenomena. I don't want to. I know it's going to conflict in some people's mind, but it's all related to me. The research that led to this fictional work led me to do the investigative work that I did, and then led me to do the I guess you could call it the boots on the ground type of stuff, the getting out there, the investigating, the lore, all of that stuff that I didn't think was, I was always been more of a, which I still am. None of this is like I'm 100% this. It's a big part of me now. And because this series is going to be a years long thing, I don't think I'll even know if there's an end to it, really. It's that mapped out. It's always going to be fun for me to write Phenomena and own that and promote it.
So basically what you and I are doing is with these self-published books, we know that we need to market them, and what better way to market them by actually producing something that's also something that we love to do.
I'm passionate about this. You're passionate about this. This is not some tangential thing to get your money, or I don't care. I mean, great, it should come, but I want to share this with the world. That's what I got to say. And I feel, Dan, you're the same way. We're passionate about it. Dan's dad is an amazing country singer. It's not like we're just pulling things out of a hat to create some kind of Netflix owning stuff. See, we're organic, we're grassroots. Support independent people like us. Support people that are coming at you that wouldn't be selected by the Hollywood producers, because we're not from LA, unfortunately. I'd love to be connected, but I'm not. We're not from New York. Love those people too, but I'm not from there. Not from Chicago. Love that pizza and go Bears and whatnot, but I'm not from there. We're from the boonies in a way. Okay, we're from a place that wouldn't probably be selected, but we're Americans, and we have a voice, and we want to share that with you. We're not the celebrities that create podcasts as an afterthought, as an addition to their. Why do they need more money? Because they love more money. Go follow them. You want to follow them? Follow them. But here's what I say: if you're like me and you like podcasts and you like independent writing, and that writing, that's good. Okay, we're not going to give you crap. You're not going to see crap from us. You're not going to be unhappy. And that one guy that is unhappy, I will give you back your money and Monopoly money. But the okay, this is gonna be like unsubscribe like galore for everybody. Like, this guy sucks. I don't suck. I'm just sharing with you the humor of it. You got to laugh at yourself and the whole situation. Part of it also is that putting these little business together is a lot for people like us who have a full-time job. I have a full-time job. It's how I'm able to do this.
Basically, you can make any of those dreams that you have come to life with, just like you said, the hard work, the dedication, the commitment, the daily habits. And again, one more time to plug the book. If you're struggling on how to do that, this will help you manifest your story in 21 days. And again, links are in the description.
It sounds great. I'm excited. This is a big launch show. We're going to see you next time. In the meantime, get the book, share the book, share Dan's info. Go on X for me, Phenomena X Files. That's what I could get. They couldn't get the whole Case Files. It was just not big enough. So Phenomena X Files is funny, but that's my name there. Follow me. Follow what I'm doing. I'm announcing. Go to my website, phenomenacasefiles.com. Support us. We're independent guys, and we're here for you. We're starting right here at the ground, and we have our own expectations about where this is going to go. But we know that if we start here at ground zero and start building consistently, and I've heard this from other creative people. I just heard it about a couple of weeks ago from this great sound editor, said if you keep doing it, if you keep just producing, you will make money. And I don't care about money, but I like she was going in the sense that you will be successful. You will grow an audience. You will have listeners. So we're going to come at you, whether we have only 9 listeners in Japan, and I love you guys, or not. We're going to be coming at you, and we're going to rebuild the consistency. We're going to come back to this show too, as in the way we're doing now, circling back to the things we've learned. And there are many things that we've learned, and we'll talk about and share them with you. If they help you, great. And if you feel like you have some subjects that you want us to cover, you are asking yourselves or you're curious about, share it with us.
Yeah, leave a comment. All right, cool. Till next time, Robert.
Till next time, my friend.
This is Hacking It with Dan Allen and Robert Cavalier.